In the illustrious history of Oakwood High School basketball, no coach has ever had to duck through doorways like Coach Gerald Giraffe. Standing at an impressive 20 feet tall, though he insists it's a modest 18, Gerald represents what happens when the universe decides to play a cosmic game of what if. Meet our protagonist, Coach Gerald Giraffe, formerly of the Serengeti Plains, now the proud owner of a physical education degree from a highly questionable online university. His credentials include excellent court vision, mainly because he can see the entire building, and outstanding reach for grabbing rebounds. However, he's technically banned from demonstrating this due to multiple ceiling tile incidents. The supporting cast includes assistant coach Mike Thompson, a 5'8" former point guard, spends 90% of his time translating Coach Gerald's instructions from gentle giraffe grunts to actual basketball terminology. Mike has developed an impressive neck strain from constantly looking up during conversations. Principal Paula Chen made the controversial hiring decision after misreading height requirement as height advantage in the coaching manual. She now specializes in explaining to angry parents why their children are learning zone defense from someone who can't enter the building without a structural engineer present. The Oakwood Hawks, a team of bewildered teenagers who've learned to play basketball while constantly dodging their coach's swaying neck. Team captain Jimmy Martinez has developed an unconventional shooting form from trying to arc the ball over his coach's head during demonstrations. And let's not forget the janitorial staff, led by Bob Wilson, who's had to replace exactly 17 door frames, 3 light fixtures, and 1 scoreboard, all casualties of what he calls the vertical integration problem. The gymnasium itself has undergone some modifications. The coach's office now features a retractable roof, the water fountain has been replaced with a pulley system for leaves, and all motivational posters have been relocated to giraffe eye level, approximately 3 feet below the ceiling. As we begin our story, it's important to note that while most coaches worry about their win-loss record, Coach Gerald's primary concern is maintaining a straight neck during timeouts and avoiding the ceiling fans during fascinating plays. The season's first game revealed strictly why the phrase giraffe coaching basketball hadn't appeared in any sports management textbooks. It began, as most disasters do, with the best of intentions. Coach Gerald's pregame speech, a series of well-meaning grunts translated by assistant coach Mike, somehow turned "let's run our offense" into "eat the tall leafy plants." The team spent the first quarter looking suspiciously at the potted ficus in the corner while their opponents ran up a 20-point lead. But it was the timeout huddles that truly tested everyone's patience. Picture, if you will, a 20-foot-tall giraffe attempting to join a tight circle of teenage athletes. The resulting formation looked less like a basketball huddle and more like a solar system model, with Planet Gerald's head orbiting near the gymnasium rafters. In contrast, his team huddled around his knees. The opposing teams, to their credit, tried to maintain their composure. However, it's worth noting that the Sterling High Eagles starting center developed a peculiar tic after Coach Gerald accidentally deep-cleaned his ears with his tongue while demonstrating a backdoor cut. During one particularly memorable game against the crosstown rivals, Coach Gerald attempted to demonstrate a proper defensive stance. The resulting scene, a giraffe trying to bend his knees while keeping his hooves shoulder-width apart, now lives in local legend and several viral TikTok videos. The demonstration ended with 3 broken clipboards, 1 dented trophy case, and a new school policy prohibiting coaches from extending their necks beyond the 3-point line. Referee interactions proved equally challenging. When disputing calls, Coach Gerald's passionate protests consisted mainly of gentle head bobs and leaf-munching sounds, which the officials found either endearing or deeply confusing. The league eventually created a unique giraffe gesture guide for referees. However, the distinction between questioning a traveling call and requesting more acacia leaves remained unclear. The team's offensive strategy underwent some unique modifications. The traditional pick and roll became the duck and dodge, as players learned to weave through their coach's legs. At the same time, he unwittingly created screens by simply standing still. The fast break evolved into what assistant coach Mike termed the "please watch your step, coach" break, with players developing an uncanny ability to predict how their coach's neck would sway next. Perhaps the most innovative development was the Gerald Special, a defensive formation in which Coach Gerald would simply stand near the basket, his mere presence causing opposing players to forget everything they knew about shooting angles. The league briefly considered banning this tactic under unfair vertical advantage rules, but since technically he was just standing there, they had to let it slide. Practice sessions became exercises in creative problem-solving. After the third time Coach Gerald got his tongue stuck in the net while trying to retrieve balls with his mouth, the traditional basketball rack was replaced with a custom-built giraffe height ball dispenser. The school's maintenance budget now includes a specific ceiling height coaching accommodations line item. By mid-season, the team had developed a peculiar but effective playing style that sports journalists struggled to categorize. "It's like watching basketball choreographed by Salvador Dali," wrote one confused reporter. "If Dali had a very tall, very uncoordinated assistant who really liked leaves." It all came down to the state championship game, as these stories inevitably do. The Oakwood Hawks, against all odds and several laws of physics, had somehow made it to the finals. Their opponent, the defending champions, the Riverside Rams, who had spent exactly 0 time preparing for a giraffe-based offensive strategy. With 10 seconds left and down by 2 points, Coach Gerald experienced what can only be described as a giraffe epiphany. In his excitement to call the final play, he forgot about the newly installed ceiling fan. The collision created a spinning motion that can only be described as a helicopter giraffe, his neck rotating like a very tall, confused basketball propeller. The opposing team, having never practiced against rotating mammal-based distraction techniques, watched in bewilderment. This gave Jimmy Martinez just enough time to sink the game-winning three-pointer. However, nobody saw it go in because they were too busy watching their coach turn into a ceiling fan. In the chaos that followed, somewhere between the victory celebration and the paramedics checking Coach Gerald for whiplash, Principal Chen received a call from the National Basketball Association. They were interested in implementing a new vertical coach initiative. Coach Gerald declined their offer, citing a newfound respect for buildings with standard height ceilings. The moral of our story? Sometimes, the best basketball coach isn't the one who can demonstrate a perfect jump shot, but rather the one who can turn their own physical limitations into strategic advantages, even if those advantages primarily involve confusing the opposition with involuntary neck gymnastics. Coach Gerald still roams the halls of Oakwood High, ducking through doorways and inspiring students to, as he says in his gentle giraffe way, reach for the stars. Though in his case, that mostly means reaching for the emergency sprinkler system.